In the course of the arrest, she kicked and spit on one of the marshals and kicked another deputy United States Marshal. Avoid all contact, directly or indirectly, with any person who is or may be a victim in this prosecution, including Ed Martin. Oh, the victim of the crime. No brain Neanderthal. Gosh. No shade to actual non-Sabians. What redneck from the Midwest? This lady went nuts. The spitting lib is back in more trouble. She's already been charged with a crime for spitting on Ed Martin, hawking a loogie on him like a demented lunatic. And now she is in more trouble because she's been posting on social media against Ed Martin, and her release conditions say she can't do that. And if you violate your release conditions and you're out on release, you know what that means? You go back into custody. And the DOJ has submitted a motion to make that happen. It came here, says the government has now filed a motion for revocation of the conditions of release. And so she should be going back into custody, says the DOJ, writing that the United States of America, by and through its attorney, now hereby move for the revocation of her release conditions for Emily Gabriella Sommers, the woman seen here loogieing all over Ed Martin. Time to go back into custody. Here's why. On May 8th, 2025, we recall, at approximately 3:30 p.m., the day of the loogie attack, in front of Northwest Washington, Ed Martin, who is hereinafter going to be referred to as Victim Ed, was conducting a video recorded interview with Newsmax Television. At the time, Victim 1 was the interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. Now, during the interview, Suspect 1, later identified as Emily Gabriella Sommer, approached Victim 1 and came up to Ed Martin and stated words to the effect of, "Who the F are you?" She turned and Ed turned to face her, and then Sommer said the words of something to the effect of, "Are you Ed Martin? You are Ed Martin." Next, Sommer lunged at Ed and spit on his left shoulder. She then walked eastbound and yelled, "You're a disgusting man. F you, Ed Martin. My name is Emily Gabriella Sommer, and you are served." Okay, that's right. So investigators queried the name Emily Gabriella Sommer in law enforcement databases. They identified her. They also learned that she is associated with address number 1. They showed an employee at address number 1 a still image of video footage from the incident. You know this woman? The employee said, "Oh yeah, that's Sommer. Oh yeah, she lives there at that address." So then investigators went on. They identified her X account, user Emily Gabriella S with a display name called Left Nipples, and determined that Sommer is the account holder for that X account. And she's been going wild on it since. The Emily Gabriella S account also contains a profile picture that appears similar to known photographs of her. Okay, so Left Nipples, Emily Gabriella S, Emily. Thank you, Emily. There's her. What a peaceful person with a flower in her mouth. Now, moreover, records provided by X show that the account is associated with phone number 1. Law enforcement queried phone number 1 in a law enforcement database and learned that phone number 1 is associated with this woman. So then on May 8th, shortly after the assault, at 6:03 and 6:10, Emily and her account made several posts relating to the assault, right? We saw her post this before and watched it unfold. Ed Martin said, "Great people," talking about the narcotics team. And then Emily says, "Ed, that was me that spit in your face today in front of your not US DC for DC courthouse that absolutely definitely spit in your face on camera. Hi, hello, a pleasure to hawk a dehydrated pithy white foam spit into your face. I only apologize that this city left me so dehydrated and unable to get water that I couldn't produce more to stain and drip down your face. Poop emoji." Totally nuts. This city left me, right? That's how much of a victim this person is. Just listen to her language. This city left me so dehydrated, because you're just a passive actor in your life. Everything is happening to you and you're not responsible for your own level of hydration. Pathetic. Take some ownership of your liquid consumption. Ed Martin, she also says, dropped the same thing. Remember, she was kind of copying and pasting these things. Ed Martin said, "That happened. Such stories inside. Ed, that was me. I'm still dehydrated. I couldn't get water. Dying." So said the same thing again, right? Another one. Just copy and paste these things. City left me dying. Same one here. Now, we all saw those already, but there's more coming up. She was copying and pasting pasting. She can't help herself. This was all before she was ultimately arrested, and she didn't have release conditions that said you can't do this. So then on May 22nd, she was arrested. She was charged by complaint with one count of assaulting an officer with a disgusting loogie, assaulting a federal agent employee. In the course of the arrest, she kicked and spit on one of the marshals and kicked another deputy United States Marshal. Man, those should be new charges. Dude, anybody else would get hit with resisting arrest, new assault charges. You can't spit on cops. They should be new assault charges for this U.S. Marshal, victim 2, and another deputy U.S. Marshal, victim 3. Should be charged for assault for 2 more people. Now, the government did not request pretrial detention, but she went nuts. And she was released subject to conditions under the law. Now, one of the conditions imposed by this court requires her that the defendant avoid all contact, directly or indirectly, with any person who is or may be a victim. You definitely cannot contact a victim, all right, at all. Happens all the time in criminal law. A lot of domestic violence cases. Well, can she come home now, or can I come home to her? No, right? Not unless you negotiate that out. You don't get to just contact victims of your crimes. So maybe a victim or witness in the investigation, including Ed Martin. And I pulled up the release conditions here so we can take a look at them just to confirm it. But here you see it out of the U.S. District Court, District of Columbia, 4 pages, case against Emily Gabriella Sommer, the loogie Emily Loogie. She is now ordered. Don't violate any law. You must cooperate with a DNA sample. You must advise the court before making a change to your number or address. You must appear back in court June 10th at 1 p.m. in front of Magistrate Judge Zia Faruqi. And you must sign this paperwork. Now, the defendant is not being held in custody, right? That was not requested. That is going to change now. Now we're saying, actually, we're going to want that box checked and we want her to go into custody. Here's why. She violated these rules. The defendant, via court order, must submit to supervision and report for the supervision by pretrial services. Okay, pretty standard stuff. Got to check in with somebody, call them. They'll have a program, so you check in. Doesn't say anything about employment, not anything about education. Give up your passport. Do not get a new passport. You must abide by the following restrictions. You should notify the pretrial services agency if you're leaving the metro area. So if you're going to leave this location, let us know. Court to approve all travel outside of the continental United States. Now, check box G. Checked. Avoid all contact, directly or indirectly, with any person who is or may be a victim in this prosecution, including Ed Martin. Oh, the victim of the crime. So what's going to happen when she contacts him? She also needs to get medical or psychiatric treatment. Yeah, good call on that one, Judge. Definitely. Report to PSA for a mental health assessment. Participate in mental health treatment as directed by the PSA. So she might be crazy. If they say she's crazy, then they'll get some health treatment for her, but she's got to at least do an assessment to make that determination. So similarly, doesn't have to report back to custody. Sometimes this would be like work release, like, you're free to go to work from 8 to 5, but come back in and sleep in the jails. You are not allowed to possess a firearm. Do not use alcohol at all. Do not possess any narcotic drugs or controlled substances. Submit to testing for substances, urine testing, sweat patch, alcohol testing, whatever they order. And that's it. No home monitoring, no home incarceration, no home detention, no curfew, none of that now. No GPS, no checking of monitoring technology or anything like that. Report as soon as possible to pretrial services or any contact with law enforcement. Verify your address, comply with all rules, refrain from marijuana usage, including medical marijuana. This is a federal court. Contact PSA via telephone to conduct your interview. Stay away from Main Justice. You're not allowed to go there to that building. You must sign all release of information forms. Okay, so they've got her signature on this somewhere, and you shall be placed into your specialized supervision team. And writing the following: you are advised, Emily Loogie, if you violate any of these conditions of release, that may result in the immediate issuance of a warrant for your arrest. It could result in the revocation of your release. We could order you detained. We could forfeit your bond, and we could prosecute you for contempt of court that results in imprisonment, a fine, or both. Now, while on release, if you commit another felony offense, that's going to make things way worse. Don't commit another crime if you're on release for a current crime. Everything gets worse, and you're non-bondable. This sentence will be consecutive in addition to any other sentence you receive. So you get like 5 years for this one, 5 years for the next one, not running concurrently, one after the other. Not 5 years and 5 years starting at the same time. 5 years, you're done, start the next 5. It's a crime punishable by up to 10 years in prison. treason, to obstruct a criminal investigation, to tamper with a witness or a victim, like Ed. The penalties for tampering, retaliation, or intimidation are significantly more serious if you're involving the unaliving of someone. Now, if after release, Emily, you knowingly fail to appear for your conditions of release, you may be prosecuted for failing to appear, a new crime, or surrender and additional punishment may be imposed. A term of imprisonment may also come to you if you don't show up. Emily, do you acknowledge that you understand these conditions of release? Yes, Your Honor. Do you promise to obey all conditions of release, to appear as directed, and to surrender to serve any sentence imposed? Yes, Your Honor. Are you aware of the penalties and the sanctions that I just described to you? Yes, Your Honor. So be it. Then we'll be back for our next court date at a later date and time. Acknowledged on the record by Emily. So she knew. Judge signed off on it. Matthew Sharbaugh confirming she knew what the order was, but she didn't care. On June 3rd, after she was arrested, after she was released, signed on the record, May 22nd, she posted on June 3rd, had her court hearing, promised the judge wouldn't harass the victim, and here we go. On June 3rd, law enforcement observed that Emily Lugie made the following publicly viewable posts on X. She wrote, quite actually urgent request for assistance of any and all types. My property has essentially been seized, and I do not have the basic necessities nor money to provide for myself nor my dog. F you, Ed, but since you've once again made me hostage in this city, I'll make sure it eats you alive and spits you back out, like the felony assault you've alleged with your punk A, the B, C, neo, no brain Neanderthal. Gosh, no shade to actual non-Sabians. What redneck from the Midwest? This lady went nuts. Then she tagged Eagle Ed, right? She might have said I was just talking about some random Ed, but no. Then she tagged him. Hey, Eagle Ed Martin, you mad, bro? You got fired and then caught a loogie to the shoulder. I don't think that makes you any sort of active official. You're in the wrong court. You red-nosed, Rudolph, stumbling, bumbling alcoholic. You have quite literally no brain. Come at me, dog. Let's have a debate. And LMAO, Judge Janine is the bish that took your job. That's gotta hurt. And she's got so much trash talk coming her way too. Don't worry, Janine. You'll get it too. Oh, that sounds like a threat to me. And she's on release. She might be a crazy person, bona fide. There's a lot of crazy people out there. It's hard to tell because she also just sounds like a leftist who we hear a lot about. And this is how they think. A lot of them kind of will not say all these things like crack ass, jive turkey, redneck from the Midwest. But there's a lot in there. Yeah. So can't do that. You're on release. We just read the release conditions. That's a no-no. Now, as shown above, one post includes a mention of the victim. That's Ed. And includes language specifically at the victim. You mad, bro? You got fired and then caught a loogie. On X, a mention is a post that contains another person's username in the body of the post. When an X user makes a mention of another user, the mentioned user will generally see the post in the mentioned user's notification tab, right? You'll see it. Depending on the user's settings, a mention may also cause a user to receive a push notification. Pops up on Ed's phone. Oh my gosh, the loogie lady's attacking me. Another post includes language directed specifically at the victim. F you, Ed. I'll make sure Washington eats you alive and spits you back out like the felony assault you've alleged. Now, the release condition statements explain very clearly. Violating any of the foregoing conditions of release may result in the immediate issuance of a warrant, a revocation, an order of a detention, a forfeiture, and a prosecution of contempt. And so hereby being requested from the DOJ is a request that Emily Lugie's bond and release be revoked. It says under the law, the court shall enter an order of revocation and detention if, after a hearing, the judicial officer finds that there is clear and convincing evidence that the person has violated any other condition of release and finds that the person is unlikely to abide by any condition or combination of conditions of release. And here, there is clear and convincing evidence that Emily Lugie violated a condition of release, specifically using the X account with the username Emily Gabriella. The defendant made direct digital contact with Ed by making posts that included a statement directed at Ed and mentioned his personal X account, which would likely cause the post to appear in post notifications tab of the victim's X account. The post therefore violated this court's order to avoid all contact directly or indirectly with the victim. Now, the account is attributed to her for several reasons. We know she did it. The username includes her first and middle names and last initial. It's got a profile picture. It's her. In addition, subscriber information for the X account includes a phone number that is separately linked to her in a law enforcement database. And as shown in the above post, the account user took credit for the charged assault shortly after the assault took took place, so we know it's her. And so her conduct demonstrates that the defendant is unlikely, Emily Luggie, to abide by any conditions of release. And in particular, the charged assault and the subsequent assault on law enforcement officers demonstrate her unwillingness to abide by the law and to comply with lawful authorities. And by the way, as we mentioned, the government may also seek additional charges arising from her conduct, including additional counts for assaults on law enforcement officers and other spitting on them and related offenses from the ongoing harassing conduct towards the victims. Yeah, 2 new victims, 2 new assault charges. Would happen to anybody else, right? You do that. You try to get arrested, see what happens to you. You start kicking and spitting at a cop, you're getting charged for that. So wherefore, the government respectfully requests that this court grant the government's motion to modify her release conditions and revoke her release conditions, take her into custody, and make sure this type of behavior is stopped. Signed by Jacob Green, Assistant U.S. Attorney, filing this puppy out in the District of Columbia in the case against Emily Gabriella Sommer. We'll see. I mean, it's clearly a violation of the release conditions. You might see a judge come back and just say, you know, you're not supposed to tweet at him. No, I didn't know that. Okay, now you know. You do it again, you're going to go into custody. We'll see what the judge says.